Good morning. Let's get started. Go over a couple things. I might take a quick look at your chapter 4 assignment because you guys should be working on that, right, this week. When's that due? Okay, so that's 15th tomorrow, isn't it? Thursday's the 15th? Is it? Okay. Ah, good. Okay. So, yeah, we'll take a look at that. We're also going to take a look at getting you started on project number 1. Okay. So let's open it up. So week 3, let's just take a look at that assignment real quick. Again, you're going to get time here in class to work on it. Ask questions. The first few are pretty straightforward, right? Your main emphasis on the first 2 have to do with your net assets, basically, knowing that you have to accumulate those assets, and so they take cash, basically. Okay, so kind of understanding that should make the first 2 relatively easy. The third one, or problem 4 or 5, pretty straightforward math. You're taking the probability, right, and then taking it times the probability times the units times the price, right? That should give you, get to a fairly simple answer. You get to 4.7 and 4.12 and even and 4.22 especially maybe, but these ones take a little more time, okay? And so make sure you set them up. Make sure you take your time when you're setting them up, okay? Label them, put it in there. Make sure when you get your answer that it looks reasonable too, okay? On this one, what's LIFO inventory accounting? You guys? Yeah, last in, first out, right? So that means that if we're manufacturing some stuff, we're assuming then when we do our accounting and we can choose as businesses, okay, how we want to account for our inventory sales, whether we want it to be LIFO or FIFO, which is first in, first out. There's another one that's like an average. I'm not sure what it's called. You guys have to take your accounting, I guess, to maybe tell me that. But so LIFO means that we're going to sell the last units that we made first. So in this case, so February, the company produced 900 units. So we're going to sell those 900 units from February 1st, right? And then we would sell some leftover inventory from January. Make sense? Okay. So make sure you do that when you're calculating. 422, and I think I tried to give you guys a pretty good example in the video on how this one works, but this one definitely you got to take your time and set it up, okay, because you got to set up all these months with their sales, with the expected cash flow for each month. It's going to be a little bit bigger spreadsheet. There's nothing about it that's really difficult as long as you make sure you follow the problem, what the parameters are of the problem, what the details are of the problem, I should say. Okay, follow that, set it up. I give you an example on the video. If you follow that, it shouldn't be that difficult. It's just that there's a lot of steps in it, and it's easy to make one mistake along the way. So double check yourself, do those types of things. So, okay, question? Colin? Really? Well, I thought yesterday trying to update all that stuff. Oh, I think chapter 4 should be this week. Let's go. Yeah, we'll be doing that. I'll go over that here in a bit, so. Oh, well, and that's not the way it's supposed to be. I thought I sorted those out yesterday. I sat yesterday and chapter 5 quizzes due the 20th. Oh, chapter 5 assignment, I didn't get that. Here, let me do that while we speak. So that should be also probably due the 20th then, right? Because you got, let's see, you got just 5 next week, or is it 5 and 6? Chapter, I got chapter 5 and 6 video, so where's my chapter 6 assignment in there? Oh, okay. So we'll do that on the 13th, and then, I'm sorry, the 20th. There you go. And then 6 should be like on the 22nd, right? Yeah. Yep. Yep, 2 chapters next week, and you'll be working on the project a little bit. You'll have some of those things to turn in. The first part of the project, it's fairly simple. I mean, this shouldn't take you guys a lot of thought. I'm gonna go over it today, so, okay? Hopefully I got those changed now. That's weird, because I thought I had those changed yesterday, sitting in my office, and I wasn't even drinking beer or anything, and I don't know. Yeah, some nights I sit home, Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so project 1. If you go down and click on that, the instructions, okay? I'm not gonna open that up and read it, but it basically tells you what we're gonna be doing for the entire project. There's also some things in there that are kind of important to know, okay? You've already had this assignment, right, to come up with your business idea, and I think everybody pretty well got that submitted. That wasn't a graded assignment, but I wanted it in there just so I could give you feedback, if need be. I think everybody did pretty well in terms of what you were doing, okay? Then our next thing is gonna be the starting point. I've got that due Thursday, so let's talk a little bit about it. Here's where everything gets done, is on this same spreadsheet. So you're gonna wanna open it, download it, put it on your thumb drive, put it on your Z drive, all those things, okay? You're gonna start, and you'll keep adding to it with the various assignments that we have. You just keep submitting the same spreadsheet, but with the added information. Does that make sense? Okay. That's kinda nice if you're doing that too, then you've always got a backup here. If you've submitted, we get through the 3rd assignment, say, and you've got it submitted, you lose it, well, it's still gonna be in here then, right? So we'll be able to get it back from that, so we download this. We'll download that. There we go. No, the first part's due Thursday, right? Thursday. The starting point's due Thursday, okay? Yep, yep. Okay, so read the directions. The first tab, there's a bunch of tabs down here, right? The first one is the directions, okay? If all else fails, when you get to some spot and you're kind of confused, go back and read the directions, okay? Because there's some things in here that, you could really screw up, and you might be working on something and it might give you some error messages or whatnot. And there's a pretty good chance that it's something that's in the directions, okay? Some basics, okay? In the white cells on any of these things, you shouldn't be making any changes, okay? You guys have all picked some simple projects. These will fill in where needed. They'll fill in automatically, okay? If you make some changes to the white cells, it can really start screwing things up. Don't change any white cells. If you think you need to change a white cell, you put your hand in the air and let's have a good, serious conversation about it. I won't say that in the probably 10 years I've been using this software that there hasn't been once or twice where some project got a little bit confusing. That was probably more an entrepreneurship class and not here, but where we maybe had to go in and make a change or two, okay? So, you know, I think I showed you guys this earlier. Eventually, you're gonna get down here. There isn't a whole lot, okay? Look at the income statement, okay? There isn't any, sorry. There aren't any, colored cells there. They're all white cells. So you're not gonna change anything on that. It's just gonna all auto-fill for you, okay? The yellow cells, it says adjust as needed, okay? Very few of you will make changes to the yellow cells at all, okay? That can easily change, I guess, in terms of maybe some seasonal projects. You know, if you're doing, I think somebody's landscaping, Dylan's landscaping, right? You're gonna be seasonal, and so when we get to the payroll, it's gonna automatically fill in the payroll for all 12 months, but guess what? You're not gonna do all 12 months, right? You're gonna only have payroll probably for 4, 5, 6, yeah, maybe 8 months out of the year. You know, clean up on March and, you know, clean up or whatever in October, something like that, okay? So that's gonna take some adjustment, and that's gonna occur within these yellow cells. And so yellow cells can be adjusted, but most often will not be. Okay, you're not gonna spend a lot of time adjusting the yellow cells. For many of you, you won't adjust it at all, okay? The orange cells is where you're gonna do your work, okay? So just know that and understand that think about it if you're gonna change something in a yellow cell. Again, you might even wanna ask. There are some formulas in here occasionally that are locked. There's gonna be 1 or 2 places where you're gonna wanna make a change and it's gonna say, sorry, you can't do that, okay? That's because those cells are locked, okay? If you need to, and there is gonna be once or twice, here's how you unlock it. You come up to the review, it says protect, unprotect, whichever. So if you click protect, it asks password to unprotect. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's right here in the directions. Again, that's why if you go back, if you get to that, you get that pop-up, you know, this page or this cell has a protected formula in it, but you know you need to change that. Then you go up and you hit review, protect, hit 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, and then it should allow you to change that cell. Okay? That should only happen maybe once. I think it's when we get into the additional inputs tab that's down here. Okay, so early on here, that shouldn't happen, and I'll try to prompt you again when we get a little bit closer to that. You can fill this stuff in if you want, you know, your name, the company name, okay? If you prefer to start in a month other than January, okay, you could fill that in. Starting year, you know, most of us probably put 2023 or something, but that's up to you. That, if you put those in, then it kinda, when we get to these months on the sales, I think, it kinda fills it in for you, and so it's not necessary, but if you wanna do it, that's fine. Okay? Everybody got with me so far? So we get to the starting point, and let's take a look at that, okay? For most of you, okay, it would be unwise to buy real estate, okay, to buy land and buy a building or build a building, okay? It will be much simpler if you do leases, right? If you go lease a location someplace. I can tell you in Havre, there are plenty of places that are available for lease, okay? So think about that. If you absolutely if you need to buy real estate and building for your particular business, okay, we'll get that filled in. That'll come up here, okay? If you're gonna lease a place, you almost all will have some leasehold improvements, okay? Even if they're minor, you're gonna go in and paint it, you're gonna go in and do some things like that, right? Okay, we're gonna put that amount in here. This is one spot, I kinda lied to you a little bit, because this is one spot where in the white cells you can make some notes. That's fine, there's no formulas or anything there, but notes are helpful on this thing for me. Okay, so if you're filling it in and saying, you know, I'm gonna lease a place, and so I'm gonna have paint, you know, I can put that in there, you know, paint and flooring. And I kinda know what you're doing, and I'll look at it and see if that kinda makes sense. I don't get too caught up in this class. I don't make you go out and research and find the numbers and do those types of things. an entrepreneurship class, you would do that if I was teaching entrepreneurship class in the spring. Okay. Many of you will have some equipment, right? Almost all of you will. You know, you're going to have, landscaping's going to have a lot of equipment, right? Your shop, you know, it might just be a computer and a few things like that, right? Okay. So it may be a lot or it may be a little, but most of you are probably going to have some kind of equipment, you know, whether it's a computer, things like that, right? Furniture and fixtures, you know, maybe you're probably not going to have a lot of furniture and fixtures. You're going to have some fixtures, right, for selling some stuff, okay? So you just got to kind of make some estimates there as to what that might take. Vehicles, maybe, maybe not, right? We don't know. So your business won't need a vehicle, okay? Go ahead, Richard. Right. Well, you know, if you're doing mobile, yeah, you're gonna go around. Here's one thing, you gotta think this through a little bit, okay? Do you want to actually buy a vehicle for the business to start with? And that's a possibility, because you might have specialized equipment or whatnot. Or if you just got your own personal car, when we get to the expense thing, you can basically lease your car to your business, right? For 67 cents a mile or whatever the government going rate is right now, 70 cents a mile, probably something in that neighborhood. Is it only 58.5? Yeah. With gas prices having gone up, I would expect that to increase, but we'd go with whatever the government was. So if you buy it for the business, okay, that's fine. You know, then we're gonna put that in here, okay, as to what that vehicle might be. Other, you know, some of you might have some different businesses that got some other things that are a little bit strange. You could put it in there, that's fine. You may want, if you're gonna put something in there, put some good notes here, for sure, so I know what it is. Okay, this is where it often gets confused, is more down here, okay? Pre-opening salaries and wages, okay? Some of you, maybe a lot of you, will have nothing in here. Okay, if you're just a single business, right, you're just the only person running it, are you gonna pay people to come and help you set that business up? Before you open, this is before you open, okay, probably not, right, okay? So you might not have any pre-salary and wages. This would only be, you know, maybe you are gonna have a lease and you're gonna pay some people to come and help you paint the walls, tear up the flooring, do some things like that, that's fine. But this is only those salaries and wages that you would pay prior to opening your door. Okay? Don't worry about the first year, that's gonna come up, that's on a separate sheet, we'll worry about that later. Now, prepaid insurance premiums, you're all gonna have that. Okay, and why is that? Because you pay for insurance up front. Your insurance people are like that, they wanna get paid up front, right? Okay, to ensure then what you're gonna do for that year, probably 6 months or a year, okay? Most of you, even if you don't have things that you need to insure, you're gonna have to carry some kind of a liability policy. Okay? And so there will be some prepaid insurance. For a lot of you, it'll be minimal. Landscaping, the liability is probably gonna be a little higher than, you know, a shop, okay? You know, mobile detailing, yours probably not gonna be that high. Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be too much, you know. Thousand, no, don't count workers' comp, okay? Because workers' comp gets paid monthly. Well, you pay it quarterly, but it gets calculated monthly, and you actually pay it. Yeah. You actually pay workers' comp in arrears, meaning after the fact, okay? Whereas these kinds of insurance premiums, you pay ahead of time, and so that's why we put that in here. Okay, again, I'm not gonna get terribly caught up in the number here. You know, if you were doing this in entrepreneurship, I'd make you call an insurance agent, tell them what you're doing, and get at least an estimate of what the cost might be. Okay, inventory to get started. Yeah, you're gonna have lots of inventory, you're not gonna have any inventory, right? Inventory are only those things that you sell to the end consumer, right? Okay, Dylan, you're gonna have a lot of supplies and whatnot, but you're not selling those to the consumer, okay? You're gonna have a lot of inventory because that's what, you know, that's what your business is gonna be. You're not gonna have any inventory, right? Okay? Legal and accounting fees, you might have some, okay? That wouldn't be unusual if you wanna set up a, you know, set up an accounting system. go pay an accountant, help you set up your QuickBooks or something like that. You might have to buy QuickBooks. That's a few $100. I think QuickBooks last I saw was $300 or $400 stinking dollars, right? Okay, so you may well have some expenses there. You may want to set up an LLC. Okay, we talk about business entities in a chapter or two, I think. Maybe we do. But you may want to set up an LLC or, a corporation, I doubt. Okay, and so you might have some costs there. Rent deposits, again, this is just the deposit. So don't worry about the monthly rent. That's going to show up in the expenses later. Okay, so this is just a deposit that you have to put down. Some places will require, a deposit plus first month's and last month's rent. Okay, yeah, so, just tell me, again, here's a good place where you could make some notes. Just say it's just a deposit, First month's rent, it could be in here or not. We have to remember, if you put your first month's rent here, when we get to the expense thing, then you wouldn't include it there, so. Yeah, just so you don't double up. There's some cases here where you could double up, and we want to make sure we don't double up. Utility deposits, that depends on where you're at. If you're a brand-new customer for, what is it, the city of Havre, I think you do pay a fee up front right now. I don't think it's a lot. 50, 60, $100, something like that. I don't know if Northwestern would require. Yeah, I know if you're an existing customer, have had an account, like if I moved houses, they wouldn't require any deposit from me because we've been a paying customer forever, so, all right. Again, that's probably not gonna be too much. Supplies, this will really vary. Again, these are things that you need for your business. Everybody's gonna need some supplies, okay? Just absolutely no question about that, okay? Whether it's rags, whether it's cleaning stuff, whatever the case is, Dylan's gonna need a lot of supplies for a landscaping business, right? You're gonna have fertilizers and sprays and that kind of stuff that you kinda sell to the consumer, but that's probably not how you're gonna charge the consumer. You're just gonna charge them a set, probably based on square feet or something that you're doing, whatever the case may be. When we get to the sales, we'll figure that out. But each business, you're gonna need some supplies, Bridger, right? A lot of cleaning stuff, those types of things that you're probably gonna wanna have, so. Advertising and promotions, again, only the things that you would pay for prior to opening. But this could be a sign. You're gonna have signage for your business, right? Magnetic sign that you put on your pickup. Business cards, pamphlets, if you're gonna do those. Maybe the initial setup of a website, if you're gonna have a website. It's things like that, okay? Maybe newspaper ads that you might have ahead of time announcing that, hey, you're gonna be opening soon, grand opening, So this amount could be something, but again, it's not the stuff that you're gonna pay for after you open. After you open, you're probably still gonna run some radio ads or some things like that. We'll worry about that when we do the expenses. For now, it's just those things that you would pay for ahead of time. Licenses, most of us in Havre, if we're looking at Havre, depending on where you do business, the Havre doesn't require a business license that I'm aware of. They've had a lot of conversations about it, but to my knowledge, they have not yet passed any licensing or business license requirements, okay? So there shouldn't be any. Now, if you were gonna open a bar, okay, then you gotta get liquor license, right? Okay, yeah, beer and wine. How much? Yeah, the last one I financed, they actually came down after that, but the last one I financed in banking was 180 grand, just for that was a full beverage liquor license, okay?
It's because of the law of supply and demand.
Yeah.
Because the actual license, but when you have 20 liquor licenses in the town and you cannot get 21,
Right,
there's.
they limit the quantity of,
They
yeah,
have to wait till somebody else to sell and then they can.
Yep. Yep, they limit the quantity. They should more accurately be called a gambling license, okay, because the liquor sales anymore weren't the big profit, it's the gambling, it's the casinos and whatnot that made them a lot of money. The price went way down when the state of Montana banned smoking in bars and restaurants, okay, and casinos. So the price went way down when they did that because the business went way down, okay. Other startup costs might be whatever. Again, put some notes in there if you think you got something that you want to include. Let me know what it is. Okay. Everybody has to have working capital cash on hand. In the old days, when we sent in applications for SBA guaranteed loans, they've changed the process now. They don't do it that way in banks anymore, to my knowledge anyhow. But I would say that 75% of them got sent back on our first try, and it would say, you don't have enough working capital. Okay, you don't have enough cash on hand, you don't have enough working capital. So, working capital is estimated, should be estimated to be about 6 months worth of operating expenses. Okay. Right now, you don't know what your operating expenses are, so you're gonna kind of take a guess here. But you might know, if you know you're gonna be paying $500 a month in rent, well, you got 6 months of that, that's $3,000. I got utility bills, they're gonna be $100 a month, so that's, so you can kind of do a little math in your head there and say, yeah, it looks like it's gonna be about $5,000 that I'm gonna need. Okay, we could come back and change it if we needed to after we do the operating expenses. Okay, it's not a big deal, to come back and change those things if we find out that we're way off. Okay, that's the difficult part, is this top part, kind of getting those filled in, just kind of thinking it through. It's really not that difficult. You just kind of think it through and you plug some numbers in, right? This total here has to equal this total here. Okay? So then you can see right here, I got this nice green. It says you're fully funded and balanced, and you need to be fully funded and balanced. But you just do that. Okay? In other words, you make up the numbers for this. I told everybody I want you to have some loans. Okay? So if you don't have real estate, which I'm recommending most of you don't need or want to have real estate, you don't have a commercial mortgage, so leave that one blank, right? Okay. Hopefully you don't have credit card debt. Okay. I had customers who started businesses on credit cards and actually ended up doing okay. Okay, they just knew that they weren't going to be able to get bank loans, and so they got as many credit cards as they possibly could and basically started their businesses that way. Paid the high interest and everything, and when I saw them, they'd been in business for, a couple of them had been in business for several years, and their businesses were going fine. And we refinanced them, and they did fine. Okay, so it's kind of, I don't recommend that, okay, but so hopefully you're kind of, if you got to do a vehicle, then you're going to have a vehicle loan, right? Go ahead, so if your vehicle, here's rule of thumb is you need 20% equity. So if you're going to buy a $20,000 vehicle, you're going to borrow $16,000, right? So I'm just going to do something real simple here, and let's say we got to do that. Let's say we do a $20,000 vehicle, okay? And that's the only thing I have. That's ridiculous, right? You guys are going to have more than that. But you can see I'm $20,000 low, and so I'm going to have a vehicle loan. I said I'm going to do about 80% of that, so I'll have a $16,000 vehicle loan. Okay, this says that I still need $4,000 in funding. Well, where's that going to come from? Oh, owner's equity. Boom. Okay, I'm just going to put in $4,000, and now I'm balanced. Okay, that's how you're going to do the bottom part, basically. Okay, if you've got other equipment and that kind of stuff, other than a vehicle, either instead of or in addition to, then that loan's going to be up here. And that's kind of the same thing. If your equipment's going to be $50,000, figure you need 20% equity, right? So you're going to borrow 40, and you can put the rest up here in owner's equity. If you want to do outside investors, that's fine too. If mom or dad are going to invest in your company, you can split it between those two, okay? In whatever percentage you want, I don't really care. Again, I'm not too caught up in the numbers being fully accurate here. Colin, question? Has to be. Yeah. If this doesn't say this down here, okay, then yeah, it doesn't work, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Again, if I were having you do an entrepreneurship plan, a full business plan, then I'd want the research to be really detailed. I'd want you to spend some time doing it. In this case, let's make some estimates, okay? I'm more concerned you guys understand how the numbers go into these various statements and how they show up and how they work, okay? As opposed to spending a ton of time out researching and whatnot. Make sense?
So a little pie in the sky.
Yeah, try to keep it in the ballpark. If I see something that's way out of line, I might question it, but for the most part, as long as you're kind of in the ballpark, I'm not going to get get too crazy. You know, if you say your rent for a place is gonna be $100 a month, I might say, I doubt it, you know. Unless you're renting just a storage unit someplace, you know, okay. Okay, so that's it for the startup, right? Shouldn't take you a ton of time. You know, 15, 20 minutes, half hour, Bridger? Would it be, that's a good question. It's a good question, maybe, you know, depending on the type of business. You know, maybe you just need to store your lawnmowers and your stuff and,
Technically, you run your business out of your house, out of
yeah.
which is not trouble.
I think it would be legal. I think the only question would be whether the owner of the storage unit place would like you going in and out of there, you know, every single day in, every single day out. You know, they may have some problems with that, I don't know. I mean, that's typically not what a storage unit would be for, but, yeah, I don't know. If you could get the okay from the owner of the storage unit, I don't see why not. Huh? They might not, as long as you're paying your rent, you know, doing that, so, yeah. Yeah, I mean, basically, it's just, you know, if you got the right size storage unit, it could be a garage. You know, Dylan could have all his stuff on a trailer, back it in every night, lock the door, go pick it up in the morning, and away you go, right? If it rains, it stays there, it's protected, so, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of an
Because you're
interesting
mailing that
question.
just for your business or for your house.
Yeah,
So that's where you're running your business.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I don't, there wouldn't be any zoning restrictions, I wouldn't think, because you're just using it for storage, just like everybody else. Just because you're going in and out of it every night wouldn't matter. Any other questions? Okay, I'll turn you guys loose and let you go to work on both your chapter 4 assignment and your starting point.